Thanks, Margot. Welcome everyone today. Hands up who's done some fencing before. All right. So what we're going to try to do today is not get too technical. We've got all our gear lined up down the bottom, our spinners and racks and all the way we do things now, but tying a wire hasn't changed, setting a line hasn't changed, putting the post in the ground hasn't changed, so we're going to try and keep it relatable to everyone here. We're doing a fence similar to these fences here, so hinge joint with support wires, electric and a top plane. If we're ready, Margot, we might start to walk down, then we can get underway. So yeah, let's go. So originally we used to weld the stays up quite high, because in the beginning the engineers said that the bigger the triangle is, the more stable it will be, but it looks pretty rubbish. And we've found that as we drop the stay height, it balanced out a little bit. We had a bit of popping early on as the sort of triangle sort of pushes the post out of the ground. It's a tie back stay is how we refer to it. The principle being that the force that the fence is imparting on the post, if you can imagine the wires are pulling this way, each wire is around 100 kilos of strain. So if you've got 10 wires, that's around a ton of strain on that strainer assembly 24/7. When the ground gets dry and cracks, you've got potential to pop. When it's wet, you've got potential to move through the ground. So we've found bang for buck, a tie back stay tends to work pretty well, and it is adjustable. So if it does move, you can pull it back and retension it. A number 10 wire or gauge is a 3.15 millimeter wire, and your number 12 gauge is a 2.5 millimeter, or close enough. I remember fencing with my father when the high tensile wire first came out, and you just could not bend it. It was so tough and horrible to work with. The new wires are more malleable, but they've still got the higher tensile, and what they did at that time was the old wires they turned into a soft wire. So your number 10 and your number 8 are a low tensile soft wire, which is completely different to what they used to be. An old number 8, if you get it out of a really old fence, is a really tough wire to work. But when they brought in the high tensile wires, they detuned the number 8s and number 10s and turned them into just a soft wire. We use medium tensile, like a Flexibel, if you're doing electric wires and you need to be twisting it off and you don't have the actual pressure. But a high tensile wire is designed to absorb shock load. So if you can imagine, you've got the wires in your fence. If in the old days you would have 100 metre or 100 yard strain, because the wire would lose its tension and go soft, so every 100 metres you'd strain it and tie it off. The optimal straining distance for a high tensile wire is 1.5 kilometres, so there's a big difference there. So what happens is the high tensile wires act like a rubber band, and something hits it, they'll just stretch and then return to where they were, whereas a soft wire, if something hits it, it'll just stretch.
So Gary's standing the wire up on the leading edge of the post, so he's twitching it on the side of the post that the wire needs to travel along. So if it was a really long strain, those little ties that he's putting on there will move quite a long way along the wire.
So rough rule of thumb, when you're straining a hinge joint, you'll normally pull about 1 metre of slack for every 100 metres of fence. So this is 200 metre fence, so we'll see how close we get to that. This is actually one of the models that we sell at Walters Fencing. Works on a cam tightener. So each wire has its own grab, and then we've found for us this tie down strap, we can actually pull it along with the ute, and we can actually pull it at a different direction to what we're straining. And we just find that's really handy in a situation here where you can't drive along the fence line. So it's important to shake your wire a bit. Try and get the tension right along the fence.
Does anyone have hinge joint fences, and what sort of wire? How do you have you tighten yourselves?
Mine, and you hammer the wedges in.
Hammer the wedges in. They're well worth the investment. These clip guns. That one.
Tie determination knot. You want to learn?
Sure.
Awesome. So the easiest way for me to do it is come around there. You've got about a 2. Can everyone, if you want to move around the other side, please feel free. So it's over here, inside, pull it up tight on that wire. Then you move the knot into where you want it. Now, where this bend is where the wire will break. If you've got a big post and you jam it in tight so it's at right angles, you're weakening your wire significantly. If you tied it out here, it's a lot stronger, but it just doesn't look quite as good. So you go in until you get a bit of resistance there. You're pulling tension onto this, reach under. Now I haven't tied a knot for like 2 years, no, since our last workshop day. Around, so that's the second bit. Crank handle, and then that wraps around as many times as you feel comfortable with. Then to get rid of that bit of wire, rotate that 90 degrees and you crank like that.
Easy.
Easy.
Easy job.
Okay, speeded up version. Through there, 200 mil.
Over or under?
Over. I go over, you can go under, it's exactly the same knot. Through that way, pull it to you, feed it in, reach around and crank handle as you're doing it. Around this way.
Easy.
Easy doing. So you've gone over, then you've come under, then you've gone over, then you need to go
Okay.
under and then over, and then just, yeah, wrap that around.
Nice.
Yeah.
My crank handle's a bit small.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Now that mightn't look pretty, but it's just as strong as the knot that I tied.
Sweet.
So it's just practice getting that into it. Yep. Thank you all for coming today. I hope we were able to impart some knowledge that you found helpful. Thank you, Dave and Gary.